Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. We miss you and we hope to see you again soon. So let's do a little math lesson. Let's look at this problem that's going on here. So we have two game consoles. First console is $142, and we can see that represented here in the dollars, hundreds, tens, and ones. And we have video game B for $213, and you can see the hundreds, tens, and ones. So the question is, which game console costs less? So we want to figure out which one is cheaper. All right, let's look at what some options we have here. So first we could use our base 10 blocks. We have our hundreds, our tens, and our ones for both of them. Then we have our discs, our place value discs, and we have them all placed in here. And then we have our hundreds charts, and we have our 1, 4, 2 for the 142, and our 2, 1, 3 for the 213. And so what she's done, Sophia has done, is figured out that by looking at the hundreds place, that 200 is a lot more than 100. And so the one that costs less is this one for 142 by comparing those hundreds places. Okay, so what we're doing here now is called comparing numbers. And this is what our new concept that we're going to study for this unit. So comparing numbers, let's talk a little bit about some vocabulary, and we have some new symbols here. And I think you've seen these before, but let's review these and talk about these and what they mean, okay? So we have this first symbol, and it's called less than. And what this means is that anything on this side of this symbol will be less or smaller than anything on this side of this symbol. And so we would say that this is less than that side. Right here in the middle, we have equal to. That means they would be the exact same on both sides. This side would be the same as this side. And we see this in equations where we want one side to equal the other side. Then we have this symbol, and it's similar to this one, but it's going the opposite direction. And this is the greater than symbol. And all it means is that anything on this side is going to be greater than anything on this side. So we use these symbols so we can instantly compare numbers and show which one is greater and which one is less. All right, and then we have some examples here. This 845 is less than 862. This 729 is equal to 729. And 543 is greater than 368. And so what we're wanting to do is to figure this out, we're going to actually go into our packet and we'll talk about how we figure out how to compare numbers, okay? So what you want to get now is this packet right here that's labeled Math for Wednesday and Thursday. This is a packet we're going to work through together, and then you'll have a worksheet that you're also going to do on your own, but we'll work through this packet together to help you with your worksheet that you're going to do by yourself. All right. So let's look at this first problem, number 1. We're trying to figure out what symbol or sign we're going to put in this circle to compare these two, because we want to compare which one's greater, which one's less, okay? So we have our place value blocks, and we have our 100 block. We have 5 tens and a 1 to represent this first number, 151. We also have it in our hundreds chart. Then down here we have our 100. We have 3 of these tens, 8 of these 1 blocks, and we've also written it here in our hundreds chart, 100, 3 tens, and 8 ones to represent 138. Okay, now in that problem we did earlier, we looked at, she realized that 200 is more than 100, but we have a little problem here. We have two 100s that are equal the same. But the most important thing we need to emphasize first, though, is when we are comparing numbers, we always start with the largest place value. So in this case, hundreds is our largest place value because hundreds is larger than 10 and larger than 1. So we always start here. We never start here when we start comparing things, okay? All right, so when we're looking at 151 and 138, we can see that they both have 1/100. So this doesn't help us. So what I like to do is I like to cross it out so that I know that I've looked at those and they aren't going to help me. So the next thing we do is we go to the next largest place value, which in this case would be the tens. And we have a 5 and we have a 3. And those are different. So that means we can compare these and we see that 5 is larger than 3. So this tells us that 151 is greater than 138. Okay, so we're going to put that symbol here. 151 is greater than 138. Another easy thing to think about when we're looking at these symbols is when you have the greater than symbol and the less than symbol. If you look at this side has 2 points, and this side has 1 point. And 2 points is larger than 1. So the 2 points are going to point to the larger number. And same with this. 2 points is larger than 1. So that's another easy way to remember which way it goes. So the 2 points is pointing to the 151, which is larger than 138. All right, let's look at this problem next, okay? B. So we have 852 and we have 857. And here we've used the place value discs and the hundreds chart again. So looking at this, we can see we have the exact same hundreds. And remember, we always start with the hundreds place. We don't care about the ones or the tens. We look at the largest place value first, okay? And largest, I mean the most value, which is the hundreds, okay? So when we look at this, both of our hundreds are the exact same again, okay? So we can't really compare those. We have to move on. So we come to the tens place. Well, the tens, we have a 5 and we have a 5. So that's not going to help us either because they're exactly the same as well. So now we have to move to the ones place. We have a 2 and we have a 7. Well, 2 is less than 7. So this problem, 852, is less than 857. And see, I have this 1 point pointing to the smaller number and the 2 points pointing to the larger number. All right, let's look at this problem. Now, what's interesting about this problem is we have all the same numbers. We have 7s, we have 6s, and we have 9s. But that won't bother us because we know that the first thing we always look at is the hundreds and we ignore all the other numbers for now, okay? So let's look at this 9 and this 7. And we see that they are both different numbers. And we know that 9, and we can see this in our disc right here, is larger than 7. And so 967 is greater than 796. So even though this tens place, this 6 is smaller than 9, It doesn't matter because we're looking at the hundreds, and the hundreds told us who was larger first. Okay. Let's move down to this problem D. All right, this problem can be a little bit tricky, and this is where we have to be really careful. So I want you to pay special attention to this problem. And what's going to help us to solve this is our place value discs. So let's take this first number, 95. And right here we see we have 9 10 discs and 5 ones discs. Why don't we have any discs in the hundreds place? That's because there is no hundreds in this number. And I'm even going to write this above here so I can see it, okay? So this is 9, and this is 5, and that's 95. There is no hundreds place in that. Now this second number, 403, we see we have 4 100s, we have 0 10s, and we have 3 1s. So the tricky part about this is it's easy to see the 9. We look at the first number, and we're not looking at the first number. We're looking at the highest place value. Well, the highest place value on 95 is the tens place. But when we look at 400, the highest place value on 403 is the hundreds place. And so what you really see is you're comparing 4 with nothing, and 4 and nothing is a lot smaller than 4. So 95 is less than 403, not the other way around. So don't let these kinds of problems trick you. If you have a 2-digit number, it means you're missing 100. And so this 100 will always trump a 2-digit number as far as greater than. Okay, right here I have a line where you're going to quit, but I kind of want you to scroll down a little bit to this page right here on page 28. I know on your worksheet you have a few problems like this. So if you want, you can pause and go do your other problems first. And then I think the very last few problems are problems like this. So you can pause the video right now and go finish or go do those problems so you don't get confused. And then you can come back when you see something like least and greatest and watch the video on how to do this part. Okay, so let's do this together. This wants us to arrange the numbers in order from least to greatest. And let's talk about this vocabulary really quick. Least is similar to the word less, and greatest is similar to the word greater. And what it means, the reason their endings change is because you're comparing more than 2 numbers. So when you're comparing 3 or more numbers, you use this est ending as part of the vocabulary. So they mean the same thing, they just have a different ending, but it's still the same thing. So what this is telling us is we want to put them in a certain order, and we want to do least or smallest to the greatest or biggest. So we're going to have the smaller number first and rearrange it to the bigger number at the end, biggest number at the end. Okay, so we don't have these with 10 frames or anything, but that's all right. We're just going to do this by hand, okay? So let's start with our hundreds place because that's our largest one that we have, place value. So I'm going to underline this 2, this 3 in the second number, and this 2 in the third number. Okay. So remember, we're looking for the smallest number first. So this 3 is too big. We're not going to look at him yet. We'll just look at this 237 and this 240. I'm going to change colors so we can see this. So the 2 right away is telling me that's not helping. They're the same. So we got to get rid of it. So let's go to the tens place. We have a 3 and we have a 4. Well, our smallest number here is the 3. So this is going to be my first number, So let's write it down. 237. Okay. So that would leave this as my second number because it's still smaller than 300. So 240 is my second number. And then we have this last one, 302, was the greatest number. So let's look at this. We have ordered these now from least to greatest. All right, let's look at these numbers right here. Now, right off the bat, I can see I have a 2-digit number hiding in here. Remember what we talked about with 2-digit numbers up here on this page? Don't let them trick you because they don't have a hundreds place, so they're smaller than all the rest of these. These all have a hundreds place. This one doesn't, okay? Now, that makes this problem easy because we're supposed to find the smallest number first. So we know right away this can go very first. We can get him done and out of the way. Okay. Now let's compare these hundreds places. We have 7, and we have 5. So our next smallest number is going to be this 5. So let's put this 517 down, get him out of the way. All right, that leaves 702 and 715. Now, we already know that those 7s are the same. They're not going to help us, so cross them out. Let's underline this tens place. Okay, so we have a 0 and we have a 1. Well, 0 is smaller than 1. So this is going to be my next number. So let's write it. It's going to be a different color, but that's okay. 700. Whoop. Oh, goodness. I'm going to rewrite the 7 over here. Sorry. 702. And then my last number that's left is 715. There we go. All right. I won't do any more of these. This one right here is super duper tricky. If you want to try and figure that one out, I might leave it here for you to, but this is just kind of a challenge. And maybe I'll put the answer here. Maybe I'll do the answer really quick for you. But you can stop the video right here and be done and go finish your worksheet. I'll continue finishing this one in case you want to check yourself, see if you did it, okay? So I'm going to start looking for underline all these hundreds places. My smaller number, I've got 6s, 3s, and 9s. So I'm going to focus on these 3s first. Oh, goodness, they're super tricky. Then we've got a 6 and a 9. Well, 6 is smaller, so it's going to be 369. And then 3. Oh, my writing's terrible. 90. Woo. 6. Get rid of those. Okay. Now we have our 6s. They're smaller than 9s, so we'll focus on our 6s. We've got 693 and 699. Well, the 6 is the same. We move to the tens place. We've got a 9 and a 9. That's not helpful. So we move to the ones place. We've got a 3 and a 9. Well, a 3 is smaller than 9. So we've got 693. And we've got 699. See how if you solve these big problems, they look big and mean and nasty, but really they're not too bad. You just have to be methodical and take your time and cross things out. If I cross things out, it makes things so much easier for me to figure out what I've done. All right, we've got 9 and 9, not helpful. Let's move to the tens. We got a 6 and a 3. All right, I know that 3 is smaller than 6. So let's do 936. Get him done. And that leaves me with 963 as my largest number. Hopefully you were able to figure that out. If not, it's okay. That one's kind of a challenge. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.